Humphries Alumni Relations Officer here at Avondale University College. I'm sitting down today to chat to our citation recipient, Dr Peta Hay, 2020 for the Honour Year 2000. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you.
Now, Peter, we just want to have a quick chat to you and sort of get to know you a little bit more and what you've been doing since you've left college. So in one sentence, can you just describe where you live, your immediate family, and what you're doing now?
Sure. So I live in a suburb in Western Sydney called Greystanes, and I live here with my husband Warwick and my three children, Caleb, Annika and Abby. And I work at the University of New South Wales as an education lecturer, particularly in the area of gifted education.
Beautiful. How long have you been there?
Oh, a very long time, off and on in different capacities. I think I started there in 2001 doing my master's, and I think I started working then the following year as a tutor and have never stopped.
And you did your doctorate there as well?
Yes.
Okay, so you've described yourself as a very passionate reader and you'll sort of devour any genre out there. What are you currently reading at the moment?
Well, interestingly, last night I woke up in the wee hours of the morning and couldn't sleep. So I pulled out the current book that I'm reading and finished it off. And it's a book series that is a feminist reading on the old Sherlock Holmes stories. And so these novels make Holmes and Watson female characters and explore some of the difficulties that females had at the time.
Oh, you had me at feminist. Now, you graduated in 2000, like I did. Who at college, whether staff or student or, friend, had sort of an impact on you and, I guess, changed your thoughts in a way?
I think there are so many people. It's a time that I remember as being really important to forming my beliefs and my identity. And so I made lots of great friends, but there are three lecturers who stand out in my mind, and all of them for similar reasons. So I remember my lecturers, Chris Fram, Don Hanson and Daniel Renault, and all three of them just told fantastic stories. And as you've already heard, I'm into narrative. So I love that about them, but they were also equally passionate about students, and they were really caring, and they all had a great sense of humour.
Oh, that matters. Now, you mentioned earlier, and it's in your citation, that fighting for gifted students can be seen as politically unsound. So what are some of the tensions that you've come across, and how have you tackled that?
Yeah. I think the tensions stem from misconception, basically. And most people, including teachers, believe that gifted students are the private school student from, North Shore private school in Sydney. That's the kind of stereotype that most people have about gifted students. And because of those misconceptions, it's then seen as elitist to provide any type of educational intervention for these students. And so trying to tackle that is about breaking down those misconceptions and showing teachers, particularly who I work with, that gifted students come from all sorts of demographics, that it's not particular to high socioeconomic families, that we have gifted students who are living in poverty, gifted students who are Indigenous students, gifted students who speak English as second, third language. And we also have gifted students who also have a disability at the same time. So this perception that any intervention for gifted students is not needed and it's elitist because they'll be fine anyway is just simply not true. And it's very frustrating because politicians also have that misconception. So they're not very interested in making policy or laws for protecting gifted students' needs and, in fact, their educational rights. And so I guess one of my passions is teaching teachers what gifted students really look like. Um, and one story that really stood out to me when I was learning about this area was a little boy, I'm going to call him Nick. I heard about him, and his experience initially at school was that he went to school reading chapter books in kindergarten. And when he went to school, he started to norm reference. So he looked at what everyone else was doing around him, and he started to sound out letters and pretend that he was at the same reading level as everyone else around. And while that is kind of cute, what happened with more time was that Nick became rather an angry child, and he started acting out, and his parents were called in and asked if they could get some more assessment because they thought there was something wrong with Nick. Maybe he had oppositional defiance disorder or some, disability that wasn't diagnosed. When he had a psychological assessment, his psychologist said, actually, Nick has a reading age of a 16-year-old, and he's incredibly bored at school, and his acting out is a result of that boredom. Now, Nick was a little boy, so he had no way to express what was happening to him or to, help adults understand his experience. But when his educational provisions changed, when he had experienced accelerated material at school, lo and behold, all that angry behaviour just disappeared, and he was a happy little boy like he had been at school. And sadly, the principal who helped that to happen retired, and he got a new principal who removed all of those interventions. And when his parents asked why, the new principal said, because it would be political suicide for me to continue doing this because the teachers are opposed to it. And so the consequence of that was that he went back to being very angry, and he was acting out and being violent. He was experiencing nausea every day. They were taking him to a nutritionist trying to find out what was wrong. But when they changed schools and again found someone who was happy to give him what he needed, all of those things went away because the nausea was about anxiety and just being incredibly unhappy. And so I kind of think about Nick, and I think he's an extreme example, but many gifted students may experience that kind of thing to a lesser degree. So I just want to help people understand that the right educational fit for students is important, not just to grow academically, but to grow socially and emotionally as well.
Yeah, and not to let them slip through the system.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's beautiful. Now, I've been able to read some feedback from your students who are in your classes, and they sort of describe you as someone who's incredibly passionate about gifted education, which I can already tell, and that you give really in-depth, caring feedback to them. But what is it in your students that gives you a kick out of what you do? Like, what is it that sort of gets you up in the morning and excites you about those classes with students?
Um, I really like making a difference. So I feel like when I teach teachers, it's not something they generally get in their pre-service training. So I feel like I'm making a difference by giving them something that they don't have, which is exciting. But way back when I did my undergraduate degree at Avondale, I remember loving teaching because it's just changeable and it's dynamic. And the students are different every time you run a course, even if it's the same course. The students are different, and I find that really rewarding, trying to adapt what you're doing to each student's needs, and developing a relationship with a new set of students. So that's probably one of the main reasons why I love doing what I do.
Well, Peter, I think what you're doing is amazing, and I love that you're making a difference in the lives of so many. So thank you for sitting down and sharing a little bit of that with us today. Dr. Peta Hay, the class of 2000 honours you for your advocacy of gifted students and your dedication to improving their educational experience.
Thank you.